This video is a video of the answers to the pedigree problems from the genetics packet homework, or genetics homework packet 24 through 27. So albinism, the inability to make pigment, is an autosomal recessive disease. Remember, autosomal means not on the X or Y chromosome. So if we look at this pedigree, and we know that all of the ones that are filled in have albinism, we would want to label those first. So all of the albino individuals would be little a, little a. Now, then the trick is to figure out all of the individuals who do not have albinism. And remember that when you're doing pedigrees, you don't necessarily want to go in order. You want to do the easy ones first. So number 2 has to be heterozygous because her kids have it. And if her kids have it, they have to be homozygous recessive for it. They get one recessive allele from dad, but one from mom. Now, both of these children must be heterozygous because the only allele that dad can pass on is the recessive allele. Now, clues you have to look at parents for clues as to what the offspring can be, and sometimes you have to look at the offspring to see what the parents' genotype can be. So in Huntington's disease is dominant. So in this case, the individuals that are filled in have Huntington's disease. So we don't want to start off this time with the ones that are filled in. This time we want to start off with the ones that are not filled in because we know they have to be homozygous recessive for Huntington's disease. Now, if this individual does not have Huntington's disease, her children have to have one normal recessive allele. And in this particular case, if this father has a child who does not have Huntington's disease, that father also would have to be heterozygous. Duchenne's muscular dystrophy is sex-linked recessive. One of the hallmarks of sex-linked recessive pedigrees is you will see males having it and no females having it. This doesn't mean that females can't have sex-linked recessive diseases. It just means that it's rare and the father would have to have it. So if we start filling in this pedigree, when you're doing a sex-linked pedigree, you always want to fill in the males first because they only have one X chromosome, so we know definitively what their genotypes are. So that individual has muscular dystrophy, and so does that individual, and they would be X little d, Y. Next, we would want to fill out or label all of the normal males. And then the trick is to figure out the females. Who are our carriers? So if number 11 has muscular dystrophy, he had to have gotten it from mom because he got the Y from dad, and dad is normal anyway and doesn't have that mutation to pass down. So this female would be a carrier. This female would have to be a carrier because she has a son with muscular dystrophy. So we know those two females. Now, this female, we have no idea what her genotype is. We know that she got the normal allele from her father, and she has a 50-50 chance of having gotten the normal allele from her mother or the mutation from her mother. So in that case, we put X big D X dash because we don't know what that second allele is for certain. We know it's an X, so you would never want to write X big D dash because we do at least know she's female, so we do not want to write that. In addition, when we do these pedigrees and it's sex-linked, you will never know for sure that it is homozygous dominant. Now, in this case, this is a rare genetic disease, so this female who has married into this family is very unlikely to be a carrier. So it's very likely that this female and then these two females would be X big D, but we can never know that for sure. So, sickle-cell anemia is a disease that's caused by a single substitution of one amino acid for another in a hemoglobin molecule. The abnormal hemoglobin molecule tends to join together to form long fibers of hemoglobin. These fibers then distort the shape of the red blood cells, causing them to sickle. The shape of these cells causes them to block the flow of blood in capillaries, starving nearby cells of oxygen. This causes pain in the joints and abdomen. So in this case, we want to determine how sickle cell anemia is inherited. This is a little bit trickier than just labeling pedigree charts. But one thing that we can notice right away is that a lot of females have this disease. In fact, more females than males, so it's probably not sex-linked recessive. But one of the things that we can do is start ruling out possible modes of inheritance. So if we have two parents that don't have the trait, and they have children who do have the trait, can it be dominant? No, it cannot. So if we have two parents that don't have it and kids that do, it has to be recessive. Then we want to see, is it sex-linked recessive or autosomal recessive? Now the trick is to look at the females. If this female has it and her father doesn't, and here we have another female who has it and the father doesn't, it can't be sex-linked recessive because the dad would have to pass on a recessive gene to her, and so would the mom. So even if the mom was homozygous dominant, she only would pass down one mutated gene to her offspring, and then this female would have gotten the normal allele from her father if it were sex-linked. So that rules out definitively sex-linked recessive. So in this case, it must be autosomal recessive. So you probably either did A for anemia or picked S for sickle cell, but I happen to know that the notation that scientists use is HB S for sickle cell and HbA for the normal allele. So these individuals have sickle cell anemia, so they would be HbS, HbS, and the Hb stands for hemoglobin and the S for sickle cell. This individual would have to be a carrier because she has children with sickle cell anemia, and they must get one recessive allele from each parent. So both parents in this case are carriers. Now, in this case, you can refer to males as carriers because this is not a sex-linked trait. So these two individuals are both carriers because they can pass on the gene, but they don't express the disease themselves. This individual must be a carrier because in order to have this daughter with sickle cell disease, this daughter had to have gotten one allele from mom and one sickle cell allele from dad. Now, these two would both be carriers because even though they don't have it, and we know they got the normal allele from dad, they had to have gotten the sickle cell allele from mom because she has sickle cell anemia and she only has the recessive mutated genes to pass on. Now, for 5 and 6, we don't know. We know that they have one normal allele, but we don't know whether they are carriers or not because they don't have any offspring to observe.